Okay, so this video is actually going to be like a double video. It's going to be for my managerial accounting class, and it's going to be for my cost accounting class. We're dealing with at this point, we're about on the same track, and we're dealing with the same topics in our various chapters. For managerial accounting, I believe we are on, I got to think in my head, I think it's chapter 19. And for cost accounting, this would be chapter 7. So in here, we're going to be talking about all kinds of different ways where we can assign joint cost. And then we start talking about it's like a plant-wide method, a departmental method. Then we talk about the sequential, and then we talk about the reciprocal. You all have heard me complain and just whine and cry about the reciprocal method. So like I said, I've got spreadsheets and I really went to town on this reciprocal method, trying to make sure I gave you resources to complete it. So let me go ahead. I'm going to come all the way over here. So some of these problems came out of the cost accounting textbook and some came out of the managerial accounting textbook. So in this situation here, they give us, and I've got the answers already in here, and I'm telling you how to do them and whatnot. So this is me doing the double check to make sure everything went exactly where it's supposed to go. And in this situation, we manufacture 4 products: the Barlin, the Celine, the Plycine, and the Corsol. Here's the joint cost. We got direct materials, direct labor, and our overhead. And then we got the batch yield and the cost per yield. And they want us to allocate the cost using the sales value at split off method. If required, round allocation rates to 4 decimal places. Now, this is why I really wanted to, even though I've got the answers already in here for you. And of course, I always use algorithm, so you guys can kind of play around, and your numbers will be a bit different than mine. And these were problem Bs. I never give you guys problem Bs. I always give you problem As. So anyhow, round the final allocations to the nearest dollar, 4 decimal places. Ugh, ugh, ugh. Okay, so I went in when I'm setting this up just to help myself get through the problems. Of course, I'm always using Excel. Always, always, always using Excel. So here's my products, here's my units, my split off, here's the market value of split off, which is basically this times this. You've got that all going there. There's my percentages. They're all to 4 decimal places here. And then I took my handy dandy little fingers and I put them in here because they said only 4 decimal places. And let me show you why. So look at all those decimal places. It goes on forever. So I went ahead, and that's why I did this, so I can see exactly 4 decimal places. Because let me go ahead and get this. I don't like the way that looks. I like it like that. Okay. For the calculations, because when I used all the decimal places, I did not get what the book wanted. Okay. So I had to go in here and make sure I capped it at the 4 decimal places, and then I did my calculations. So I take this percentage, multiply it by the joint cost, and then that gives me my allocated cost, and we're supposed to round it. And so here's my rounding. These are the correct answers. And so you can see me doing that all the way down. You may have to do a little bit of forced rounding. Watch your answers. But I just wanted to point that out to you guys. So you have that going in when you do your homework. And I know this one was a cost accounting problem. Doesn't matter because it's the same publisher, same type of problems. Now, here is the lovely, lovely, lovely sequential. Sequential is easy. Okay, it's very, very easy. You start with 1 and then you move everything over. Okay, that one is super easy. I don't like this one, but I did the problem. And then I also did, here is this goofy sequential. So we always got to think about this. Okay, up here, I've got my percentages. Okay, I've determined exactly the square footage. Okay, here is, let me find my square footage so you can see all of this here. I determined that here the power used 20% of the general factory based on the square percentage. General factory used 20% for the power. It was based on machine hours. Okay. So what we do is we start with, this is general factory. General factory, whatever that dollar amount is going to be, equals, this is part of sequential up here, okay? Down here is going to be my reciprocal. So this is me doing reciprocal. 162 plus 20% of whatever the power is. Well, I can't figure out what the power is until I figure out how much of this general factory goes over to the power. So we have to do some magic here. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the power formula, which is 140, 400 plus 20% of general factory. So let's plug it all together. There we go. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this 20% and we're going to multiply it by the 140, 400, and we're going to multiply the 20% times the 20%. That's going to give like a 4% or something like that. So you can see me doing it here. Here is my 140, 400 times 20%. There's that answer. And 20% times 20%. There's that answer. Okay. Yay! Let's get rid of this 4% because it's 4% of GF. So take this 4%, move it over to the other side of the equal sign. So now we got 100% minus 4% is 96%. Then what we're left is the 162 plus 280, 28080. Okay, there we go. Then I take this 190080 and divide it by 96%, which gives me my final answer of 198. Now, the best way for me to do this now is to figure out my pottery. My pottery is 140, 400 plus 20% of general factory. We know my general factory is this 198. So I take the 140, 400 plus 20%, multiply that 20% by the 198, and I get 39600. 140, 400 plus 39600 is 180,000. Let's double check this. So my original power is 140, 400. Now I take this was 20, I believe it was 20%. So I've got it up here, plus B61, which is right here, minus actually I've got it. The power I know is 180, so I went ahead and put there. Okay, so that automatically equals, same thing I did over here. So here's 198. So I need to allocate the negative 180 out and the negative 198 out. And then I apply it over here and everything's perfect. Okay. I know it's crazy, but it's so much fun. Okay. So here's now that's reciprocal. You can follow this, and I've got more reciprocals back. I've got all kinds of files here or tabs here for you. Okay. Here's a situation where I am, and I think I made everything blank. Okay. Oh, physical units answers. I'm going to go, okay, so I'm going to actually do this in the class with you guys. Physical units answers. Okay, so here we go. I've got my materials, my debarking, my sizing labor, my product cutting. Okay, we're going to be doing this relative sales value at split off method, net realizable method, decision making. So here's my studs, my decorative pieces, and my post, my fully processed at sales price. Okay, this is all of my joint cost. So here we go, relative sales value at split method. Okay, 75,000, 5,000, 20,000. I got from right up here. Here is my sales price per unit. Now up here somewhere, it tells me right there, the $60. That's why I'm not using that 100. I'm using the 60 because they're telling me to. Okay. Now when we go to use the 100, which I believe is down here, we have to do something special, and that has to be with up here. It would cost us an additional 80,000 to produce it to its full, not just the split off value, but taking it beyond. So we'll look at that in a little bit. Okay. 75,000 times 8, 5,000 times 60, 20,000 times 20. There's my amounts. Now I got 1.3 million. 600,000 is 46.15% of that, 23.08%, and 30.77. Now, again, it's telling me only 4 decimal places. Again, I can go out here and we're going to see there's a bunch of decimal places beyond there. So I have another column where I just plug those in to just get those specific decimal places. And then I take the split off, which is, or the, I'm sorry, the joint cost, $1,110,000 multiplied by the 46.15%, so on and so forth, all the way over. And I've got that information there. Now they want us to do the physical units method at split off. Okay. Now this one's pretty easy. So there's my units equals 100,000. 75,000 is 75%. So I'm going to take the joint cost by 75 by 0.75. I get that amount there. This was 5%. This was 20%. Super, super easy. Now, estimated net realizable value. So we're assuming that these are fully processed. Now remember, up here, this one was not fully processed. Okay, to get this one fully processed, we're going to lose 5% of our batch, which it says up here somewhere. Oh, loss of 10%. We're going to lose 10% of our batch. So 5,000 times 10% is 500 units. So I brought this down. Okay, you can see me doing it right here. I'm going plus this minus that 10% of the batch gives me 4,500 units. 75, 4,500, 20,000. Sales price per unit. Now this one, in order to sell it at, where we fully processed, it is $100. However, we incurred an additional $80,000 in production cost. Okay. We'll see that in just a second. So there's my new cost. I multiplied them out. Now that net realizable value, remember I said that 80,000? So I did my calculations, B49 times C49, this times this, minus that 80,000 in additional processing costs. Okay, there's my percent of values. I did my rounding, and there's my ending numbers. So I just kind of wanted to point, again, I wanted to point these out to you as you're doing your homework, to, make it so that it's a little bit easier for you. Okay, I'm just going to go, we're going to be doing this in class, but I just wanted you guys to see this because I've still got all kinds of different, I've got more departmental, sequential, and reciprocal in here. So let me go ahead. We've got this up here. We've got tulips, all that neat stuff. So it just basically gives us this information here. And it tells us that we have, our batches are 10 tulips, 20 lilies, and 20 daisies. Okay, 10, 20, 20. There's my totals. Now, my proportion of my cost, 10 divided by 50, 20 divided by 50, 20 divided by 50. Here's my joint cost. It tells me $30 per harvest. So I just take those proportions, multiply it by the joint cost. Beautiful. Now we're going to do the weighted average method. Now this weighted average method is taking into consideration the amount of water being used to produce these flowers. Now in here, let's see, it says in here, the flowers are all watered, all receive the same amount of water. Daisies require 3 times as much as lilies. And the water required for tulips is about halfway between the amount needed for daisies and lilies. So obviously that's, so here we go. Daisies require 3 times. Daisies get a 3. Tulips are in between lilies and daisies. So there are 2. Because what's in between 1 and 3? 2. Okay, and lilies are 1. So I take the flowers per harvest, multiply it by that weight factor, and I get this amount. Now I'm up to 100. Again, same thing, 20, 20, and 60. So 20 divided by 100 is 20%. 60 divided by 100 is 60%. multiply by my joint cost. There we go. This is pretty easy. I think I might want to do this forever. Now I'm going to come on over because like I said, I have got a whole bunch of stuff. This is reciprocal. Okay, this is some instructions and I just pasted them here in case it might help. So we're going to go ahead to the blank. And again, I'm gonna do this one because why not? Let's have some fun. And then we'll look at the answers. So in this situation, and I went ahead and I am trying to identify one of these. I do the asset value, I do service calls and machine hours, but then when I get to reciprocal, I just ignore it at a certain point. So in here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my department cost. That's 25,000. Security is 42,500, 160, and 95,000. Okay, just because I'm anal, we're going to do my total. You'll see why in just a second. Now I need to figure out what is I need to transfer my maintenance. Now this is just departmental. I'm going to take these two joint cost departments and I'm going to move them straight over to mining and cutting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to transfer my maintenance. It's going to be negative 25,000. Now mining here, now what does maintenance? Now they tell us to do machine hours, but yeah, maybe I'll do service calls, but I think we're doing machine hours. Let's see if it turns out nice and pretty. I'm going to look at here and I see my machine hours is 182 for mining and 176 for cutting. What's the total of that? 358. So I'm going to go minus 25,000 because I need it to be a positive times 182 divided by 358 in my parentheses, and I get that amount. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, times 176 divided by 358. I shouldn't have done that. Let's do an E. There, that looks better. And completely allocated. I'm going to do an E over here because it'll make me happy. Look, there's no more cost over there. Now I'm going to come over here and transfer my security. My security, the driver to allocate those joint costs is going to be my asset value. And so again, I'm going to come over here and I'm not going to take any other asset value other than the mining and the cutting into consideration. I got 600,000. Now I can also do this a different way. I just wanted you guys to see the 600,000, but I also can do my formula like this. Negative this times, and I'm going to need two of these. 120 divided by this plus this, which will equal my 600,000. There we go. 8,500. Same thing. Negative this times this divided by this plus this. There you go. That one's the easiest. It's not the most accurate, but it's the easiest, and I like the easiest. You can also do the sequential, which does something very similar to this one up here. We're going to start with one of these, and then we're going to move on, and we're not going to allocate anything else to one of these. So we're going to start allocating for three of them. Okay. That. Thought. And that one. Now in here, you can see I've got all my hours and whatnot. And so we're going to transfer our maintenance over. So how do I transfer maintenance over? Well, my maintenance is because of my machine hours. That's the one I believe the book has chosen they also have service calls in there, but maintenance hours works too. And you can do it with service calls if you want to. Make sure you do the way the book wants you to do it though. Okay, they said one or the other, but I think at the current time when I read it, it said they were using machine hours. So right now I'm adding up the security, the mining, and the cutting, and I have 446 machine hours. So I'm going to take this negative 25,000 and I'm going to multiply it by this divided by that, just for simplistics purposes. See, it's actually kind of an ugly number there, isn't it? This times this divided by this. And I think you know what, I think the service calls would look prettier. And this times this divided by that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and total these, make sure that everybody is nice and gorgeous and go to balance. And you can see they do. Okay. Now I'm going to ignore these two. Okay. I'm done with maintenance. Now I'm going to get rid of all of the security. And so it's going to be a negative 47432.74. Okay. Now that'll be 0. So I'm going to take, now what security? Security is going to be my asset. Okay, make sure I add those up. I believe it's 600. Doot, doot, right there. Okay, negative this times 120 divided by 600,000. Okay, beautiful. Negative this amount times 400,000, 80,000 divided by 600,000. There we go. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I'm in balance. Okay, yeah, so this is, yeah, I do have it written down based on normal procedure. So I'm going to ignore the service calls percentages just because I'm going to ignore it. It's not going to be worth it to me. Oh, it's asking me to do the percentage. Okay, I don't know why I've got this one in here. Why do I have that one in there? I don't know. Okay, so maintenance. We're not going to do machine hours for maintenance. So that is going to be what? Did I have it? Yeah, it's 446. That's why I have it in there. Plus 88 divided by 446 plus 182 divided by 446 plus 176 divided by 446. Okay. Asset value. So asset value, I'm going to be looking, because that's a security. So I'm going to be looking at, let's get those 200,000 plus that one. So 800,000. Maintenance plus 200,000 divided by my 800,000. This one actually should be a 20%. I think that's the one we're gonna, yeah, you know what? The book wants you to do that one. So I may just go in here and figure out the other one. Plus 120 divided by 800,000 plus 480 divided by 800,000. And let's go over here. That's going to be 100 plus 20 divided by 100,000. The calculation will be easier to use the service calls than the other one. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a line through these just so that we know we're not going to use those. Okay. So I'm gonna come up here to font and I'm gonna do a strike through. Okay. So these are the ones we're going to use. Now, first things first, so we need to identify the formulas. Here's the cost. Maintenance. In order to figure out our maintenance, we need 25,000 plus according to this, 25% of our security. Well, we don't know what security is. For security, we need 42,500 plus 20% of maintenance. So in order to allocate these, we need to figure out how much of maintenance goes to security and how much of security goes to maintenance. So here is my main issues right here. And the first step always is to combine this formula here. So what I need to do is I need to go maintenance equals 25,000 plus 25% of security. So I need to take that S and put this information in there. So look, this is what it becomes. Maintenance equals 25,000 plus 25%, okay, times 42,500 plus 20% times M. That's my formula. That's a crazy formula. So the best way to do this to make it simple is 25% times the 4,500. And then I need to figure out this one right here. 25% times 20% is 5%. Let's make it easy. 25,000 plus 10,625 plus 5% of M. Okay. I need to get that M onto the same side of the equal sign as this M. So in order to do that, I do opposite process rule. Negative 0.05, move it over here to the other side of the equal sign. So now I got an M minus a 0.05 M equals 25,000 plus 10,625. Combine like variables, 0.95 M is 35625. Finish it. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just I heard one time what do you call it? One of those goofy games. So anyhow, so I take 35625 divided by 0.95. I get that amount. And then I solve for my security. 425 plus 20% of M equals 425 plus 20% times 37,500, which is 7,500. 7,500 plus 42,500 is 50,000. Let's prove it. Okay. So here's my transfer maintenance. Okay, I'm transferring that into security. I'm transferring that into maintenance or security. Okay, transferring that from security. I'm transferring this from maintenance into those two joint departments. So my total 25,000 plus 12,500 is 37,500 negative. Negative 50,000, those two together right there. Okay, then I allocate it out. So over here, that's my department cost. So you can see here, I am going minus my B86, multiply it, and I got 0.41. And where did I get that? Well, actually, mine came from up here. And, or you can even do it multiplied by 60%. Either way is going to be fine. We could do it by the 60%. Okay, and this one by the 20%. Okay, that makes it a prettier one. You can either way will be fine. And then here is the transfer from security. So we go C minus C87 multiplied by the 15, multiplied by the 60% there. And that's how you do it. Whew. I hate this just because of all the going back and forth. I've seen it worse than this in terms of the formulas, but this isn't bad. So I did that one I just did to the number of service calls just for fun. Why not? And we'd actually, if I was to do that, really, I shouldn't have done that. So let's go back up here. I'll see if I can change that. And change that. That would be better because these were allocated based. No, they were allocated based up here. Nope, I'm going to redo them. Okay, that's better. So there we go. Isn't that fun? We had so much fun together. Okay, again, there's my answer keys. This might help. This is me playing around and telling you, like you can plug this information in yourself And I went ahead and put this information in. I've got 41%, 39, 25, so on and so forth. I still, yeah, I would still argue with them what they're doing here, but I probably should come in and plug in that service call instead. Okay. Just because it looks a little prettier. Okay. But I mean, this one really does give us 20% there. So, okay, we're good. We're actually okay. We're fine. Okay, so M equals 25,000 times 25% of S. Security equals 42,500 plus 20% of M. So you can see me down here. What is the percentage of 25,000 times 42,500 and 25,000 multiplied by the 20%? Now I'm coming up in here and I'm taking, this is my one whole of machine minus the 5% of the machine. Okay, and then I'm adding this 1025 to this 25,000 here. You can see I'm telling you what I'm adding. And then I'm dividing this by 95%. I get that amount. So that's going to be the amount that my maintenance total. And then I fill it in over here and we're done. And I don't think that's half bad. I hope you guys have fun with this. I hope this is really going to help you guys with your reciprocal. I really hope this spreadsheet is going to be the answer to your prayers, or at least some of them. Anyhow, so we will see you guys in the next chapter.